All right, guys, here's proof that if you're not a millionaire, that it's all your fault. I actually saw something like this on, I think I watched a video about it on TikTok. It's about like a millionaire who gives away his money. I don't think he gives his money away. He pretends not to have money for a while and thinks he can get right back there. And he starts by going on a Craigslist or something and getting some free furniture and then flipping it and selling it. Now, I don't know how you would do that without a house, because if you go somewhere for free stuff, they're not going to be like, imagine showing up there and be like, yeah, I showed up to pick up your couch, but I'm actually have another guy coming and he's going to just give me money and then take it from me. You know what I mean? Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you do that? You just can't do that. It literally just will not work out. So anyway, let's see what we got here. This is from Vodzilla. It's called Millionaire Goes Homeless. Prove that anyone can make $1 million. It's obviously going to be a silly little goosery, but I'm gonna check it out. Let's see what we got here.
Today has been really tough. This is my bench right here.
Who would have thought that living on the street would be really tough?
Here, gonna be sleeping on tonight, so.
This is Mike Black, the millionaire.
Oh, it's Michael Hawk. I knew it.
Who went homeless with the goal to make $1 million from nothing in only 12 months.
Spoiler alert, Mike Black didn't achieve his goal of $1 million starting over, despite all these grind hustlepreneurs pretending that he did, or somehow trying to spin this.
Well, he didn't even start from nothing. I'm not doing it with this person. He's on level 42. It's not even like starting from nothing. Like here's the thing. One of the things about being homeless is that you have no guarantee that you will get a home. Okay. So this person is like, I'm going to start from nothing. There's a guarantee that when you want to stop, you're done. There's not a guarantee for anybody else. Nobody else gets the ability to be like, I'm going to try out being homeless for a little bit, but I know it's going to work out because I'm a millionaire in the back end. This is just like a completely disconnected, like baby, like nonsense bullshit. He's cosplaying as a homeless person. It's just dumb and childish is what it really boils down to.
Story as if he succeeded, when in actuality, he proved the exact opposite. Now, this story of Mike Black has been shared
Michael Hawk
a lot recently, getting 36.4 million views by this guy, Eddie Chang, who says, look at this guy. He's a millionaire who went homeless as a social experiment. His goal proved that anyone can make $1 million in just 12 months with just a phone. This is the story of Mike Black and what happened next. Now, believe it or not, Mike Black will be coming on this show today, okay? #1 journalist in the void, and it's not even close. But
oh, I'm curious about that. He has an interview with the guy. That's fun.
We're going to be confronting him about some of these claims, which is pretty extreme. He's also, twist, kind of upset with this guy for clickbaiting him, because he's getting a lot of hate online right now. Because this guy said he went homeless as a social experiment. He says that's not true. He says, no, I went homeless a few years ago during COVID to try to encourage business owners that it can be done. You could start.
That is a social experiment. You went homeless for a social experiment. What are you talking about? And I'd argue that going like fake homeless during COVID would probably be the best time to do it in general, only because a lot of people were getting a lot of money from the government and they were more generous in spending more money. I remember like when I started doing content, like I only had like 150 Twitch streamers at the time, which is really good. But for starting, now I still have 150, but on the years in, anyway, people were giving me like $1,500 a week in donations. It was fucking insane. People were giving a lot of money out because there was just so much money that people had. They weren't working. Yeah. So.
Over. It's all about your mindset. But I think it's important and worth talking about the actual thing that happened, what he set out to do, and why he ended up proving the opposite. I think he learned all the wrong lessons, but let's go to where it all started. Okay?
Well, I wonder if like in the interview, he's like, yeah, you know what? I went to prove this thing and now I realize that it's really difficult to be homeless. And let's be real. The only people that are homeless are probably people with some kind of disability, either a disability that led you to be homeless, or once you're homeless, getting a disability. Like I can't imagine being under such an extremely horrific environment. That would destroy you mentally. It would destroy you. It would warp you. Lack of nutrition is another thing. You'd self-medicate. You would rot your entire mental health down. You'd whittle yourself down.
Mike Black is an entrepreneur who during COVID decides, okay, I'm going to start it all over. He makes all these rules for how he's going to make $1 million in 1 year. In fact, maybe we should just play the first video he made to kind of introduce this whole thing.
I'm Mike Black, and starting July 10th, I'm leaving behind my 7-figure business, putting all my belongings in storage. I'm draining my bank account to $0, and I won't even have a place to live.
Yeah, so basically he's going to still have all that money when he's ready to quit.
I'm cutting off my entire network, my friends,
and even if he didn't, even if I cut off my entire network, he still has things that like he understands that other people wouldn't, right? This is something that happened because he became a millionaire. Like, not everybody's going to start with the knowledge of being able to do things, right? But either way, I mean, still, okay.
Family, my mentors, all my connections.
Like, it's very easy to do these things when you have a guaranteed outcome, basically.
And I'm starting from absolutely nothing with the goal of going from $0 to $1 million in 12 months.
So that's the original pitch, but really quickly he finds out it's way harder than he thought. Being homeless is harder than he thought.
Who would have thought?
Starting a business from
living somewhere where you're like in constant threat of dying. It's hard.
zero is harder than he thought. Getting a house is harder than he thought. And ultimately, if you don't want to watch the full thing, he gets a lot of lucky breaks. Like somebody just lets him stay in their RV for a while. Somebody just
for free. I actually saw something about that.
He used to co-sign on the house when he has zero credit supposedly.
What? Who the fuck would do that?
So it seems like
the only reason they would do that is because they found out in some way who this guy was. But another thing about being homeless is you don't usually act the best. Like I said, you usually either develop some kind of an illness because you're on the streets all the time self-medicating, or you had an illness that led you to go on the street. So people are not going to be as inclined to be charitable to you. So what are you talking about? Most people, like, as a sad reality is that people look homeless. Or people look like, maybe you shouldn't associate yourself with them because they might have some kind of, we'll say, difficult to predict tendencies. A homeless guy is certainly going to have a harder time getting somebody to do him a favor than I would, because it's just a reality, bro.
It's a lot of lucky breaks. Even with that, though, he ends up quitting the challenge early. He can't do it. And the reason he can't is because he says, look, my dad got sick during the filming of this. And not only that.
What, was he homeless too?
I got sick. And I had some health problems.
Who would have thought you'd get sick and have health problems living on the street, having to eat anything just to survive? What?
So I have to put a stop to this challenge.
What?
Many people pointed out that is exactly the problem with these types of challenges.
They're bullshit.
Assume perfect conditions when in reality, what you're trying to prove is anyone can do it. And when you talk about anyone, you're not talking about those challenges of health events happen. Not everyone has a lucky break. Not everyone finds someone that just lets them stay in their house. Maybe most importantly, not everyone can quit being homeless whenever they want to and quit this challenge of...
Absolutely. And again, it's the events that would lead you to be homeless a lot of these instances. Like, the events for him were, I want to try something new, LOL. But the events for other people,
not having the money you have now. So... in his announcement video for why he stopped, he basically says, yeah, I'm having some health issues, and says, look, ultimately, like, gratitude is where it's at. And he shows how much money he made in total.
Let's see, total. He got $64,000. That's still a lot of money. That's still a lot of money that he got. And again, it's still very unrealistic for the average person to engage that.
Which we'll talk about. But if he had stopped there, I would perhaps have nothing to say. Instead, though, he goes, look, health and gratitude is important, which I think is a fine conclusion for this series. I think he could probably said something about the importance of luck, given that his whole thing was derailed by luck, bad luck. But instead he says this.
What have you learned the most since starting this project? A lot of what's come to light for me is like what truly matters, which is health and gratitude. The other thing that I think I've confirmed a lot for myself is that at the end of the day, I don't care who you are, you're not a victim. As much as the world wants to tell you're a victim because of whatever reason, whether it's the color of your skin or your background or your situation, if you can believe in yourself and you can get your mindset right and bet on you can create whatever life it is that you want to create.
That's just not true. Here's the reality. I will say that we do have a little bit of a victim complex in society. People will look at some of the struggles that they might have in their life and they'll use it as an excuse not to try to do better. Absolutely exists. Your mindset will have an impact on your living conditions. And if you have a more positive mindset, you're going to have a more positive living condition. But the reality is it doesn't mean that you're going to have a great life. Have a really good mindset. You might go from making $10,000 a year to $12,000 a year. But you're not going to, not everybody can be a millionaire. Okay. So it's a ridiculous thing to say. Mindset is also gets constantly bombarded by external forces, like, again, not having enough money to buy healthy foods or sometimes eat at all, or to properly shower or bathe or get health insurance, healthcare in some capacity, to diagnose and treat mental illnesses that might be genetic to you or other issues that you might have genetic problems with. So, like, I have no problem with people saying, hey, you should have a more positive mindset, because at the end of the day, if you have a pick yourself up by your bootstraps mindset, you will do better in life than where you are now. That's true. But it always seems to be this insinuation that you could be doing as good as me. You can't. And I feel like that's a cope. The millionaires that probably inherited mommy and daddy's money to some extent, and their education sources and their networking to some extent, They want to be like, no, this is because I'm fucking brilliant and amazing. It's all me. It has nothing to do with other people helping me. It has everything to do with that. And like every circumstance, it has everything to do with that. Like even me, like my mom did decently. She was a single mom, but she did all right at work, and she was able to like get me access to a lot of therapy. Like when I was younger, I had a lot of behavioral issues. I have like my own shit. Not everybody's going to be able to get access to that. So
I found this to be a particularly out of touch reaction to what the experience he just had. He just got knocked out of his own personal I'm going to be a millionaire challenge in 1 year because of unforeseen random health events in his life. And then his conclusion was it's all mindset, which I found strange. I mean, I'm all for, look, you should take ownership, right? That's fine. That's a fine message. But just saying it's mindset is weird.
If you've lost your job, you've lost your business, whatever your situation is, if someone that looks like you and is in the same situation as you has accomplished whatever you're trying to accomplish, you can do it as well. Right now, I can feel sorry for myself. Or I can go and say, you know what? I want to fix these things. I'm going to fucking own it. A lot of things about this situation suck, but I'm in control of my mindset. Everyone has bad times and goes.
Yeah, you are in control of your mindset for the most part. But again, I just find it disconnected because like I've been in the situation where like I'm struggling pretty immensely financially. I'm with a person that doesn't really work. They have their own issues going on. It beats the fuck out of you. I still remember getting up and just wanting to fucking not be alive anymore. Like, and I'm not even saying that that's like a mental health issue. Well, I mean, it is, I guess, but that's just like typical. That's what like people do. I feel like they wake up and they're like, wow, I'm making like $50,000 a year and I can't really afford to live. This is fucking brutal. I hate this. Tomorrow's going to be the same fucking day. I just had a rough expense because some random bullshit happened and I don't really have money anymore. And it's like, why bother even fucking saving? Let me plummet myself another $10,000 into debt just to live and not care about the future because it feels like my future is fucked anyway and all my debt goes away when I die. That's what people are thinking, bro. This guy's a fucking full of shit.
Your shit in life, but it's how you react to those things that are thrown at you.
Again, I think he's just trying to frame things in a good way, but I feel like the conclusion of his story really is being cheated by his takeaway here. Really, it was a lot of luck and then setbacks that concluded the story the way it did. It wasn't actually a lot of what his own efforts were. Now, in the end, he says that basically 11 months of work, or what is that, 10 months of work? He made $64,000 of revenue. Now, people have recycled this as if he made $64,000 of profit. Obviously, that's a far way.
Oh, interesting. I never thought about that. So he didn't even make it all in profit. And also, did he pay taxes on it, or did he not do that?
Ways away from $1 million. But it's not even that good. If you actually look at it, he mentions a statistic of he made, $10,000 worth of revenue in the last month, and $5,000 of that was profit.
I mean, at this point in the project, I'm making $10,000 a month in revenue, $5,000 in profit.
I mean, that's still about $60,000.
So we have to ask ourselves, assuming 50% profit, his actual total revenue was more like maybe $32,000?
No. Just to be clear, like what we're looking at there is he says he made $10,000, $5,000 of it was profit. 5,000 times 12 is 60,000. I'm going to assume that he made around 60,000, but I could be wrong. Maybe he only made the 30,000
per year, which is it's not great. I mean, look, if your goal was $1 million, buddy, you missed it. And so it's even worse than like they tried to make it sound. Now, again, why is this important? It's not that interesting that a guy missed his goal. I'm not here to dunk on people who missed it.
Well, it's the intention of the project. If he's like, I want to do this, and again, maybe he has more humility now and it's different, but it's the intention of the project. If the intention of the project is like, I kind of just want to see what would happen if I did this. Okay, that's fine. But the intention of the project is to effectively dismiss the frustrations of people that are like middle class and lower, or by being like, I'm going to start homeless. I'm going to start worse than you. Oh, you're complaining that you're only going to be able to make $40,000 a year, working 2 jobs, and like you're poor. I'm going to show you that you're fucking stupid. I'm smarter than you and I'm better than you, and I'm going to show you how easy this is, pussy. That's the intention of this. That's like legitimately. It's not he didn't communicate that as mean as I did, but that's the intention of that. Thank you for the $2 from Asha Olag. Am I saying that right? Correct me if you can. Hey Papa, first time gooning to your stream. I love you. Okay, I love you too. Is it Ashaya? Please correct me. I don't really know how to say that.
It's that this is the story is being laundered by hustlepreneurs to then try to make it sound like he actually succeeded in some way, which I found very strange. This video right here, I hate.
I did it. You can do it too, idiot.
This new Sorry, I hate the new YouTube format. Okay.
Listen, again, I understand there are some people that are frustrated with people leaning too hard into a victim complex. I get it, but you don't have to lean in the opposite direction of like you can achieve anything. The reality is you can do a little better if you apply yourself. All right, your name is Aisha. Is it Aisha? Okay. Am I saying that right? Aisha? Aisha. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
If you can see this over here, Millionaire goes homeless. Why is it on the side? I don't know why it's on the side. This is so annoying. 8 million views, though, is the point. 2 years ago, 8 million views. His story goes viral. And then again, with this Eddie Chang guy, 35 million views on the same story. And they make it sound like, in the clickbait of it, it's like prove that anyone can make $1 million in just 12 months with just a phone. And they kind of bury the headline, which is he failed. And
that's fucking incredible.
They try to make it sound like he didn't fail. They said he had to cut things short. He made $65K.
He had to cut things short. His dad got sick. You know how it is, guys. You could just cut short being homeless when your dad gets sick. No big deal.
Not true. A far cry from $1 million, but still a massive feat from someone starting from zero. True achievement, building a viable business in weeks.
He's really not starting from zero at all. Like I said, he has the like the ability to, like, mental health. He can quit anytime that he wants, which helps him significantly. And he still has he has a guarantee that he will be just fine if it doesn't work out.
Overcoming bad odds, touching lives, money comes and goes, but the impact lasts forever. It's like, yeah, but what is the takeaway of this whole experiment?
Yeah.
You didn't succeed. You just proved that luck and odds plays a huge role, and that maybe we shouldn't judge people who are doing worse in life just because we think, oh, that's some reflection of your moral character. Maybe it's a reflection of they get unlucky and have 2 autoimmune diseases back to back.
True.
Maybe they get
but, if you do have 2 autoimmune diseases back to back, you ever think God's trying to tell you something? I'm just kidding. I'm just busting Josh. I'm just kidding.
Lucky, and their dad has terminal cancer, right?
Damn.
So it's with that in mind, I'm hoping to talk to Mike. I'm hoping to get his
Michael Hawk
perspective on things, ask him some questions about the challenge itself, but also press him on this overall meaning of what he's talking about. I know he's mad at Eddie Chang for making it sound like he went homeless as a social experiment. But
that's exactly what he did. This is exactly what it is. He went homeless as a social experiment. That's what he did. But he doesn't like that people think it's bad when like that because it sounds bad. So he's like, no, I didn't do that. He's trying to frame it. That's exactly what he did. He knows that's what he did, but people are being mean to him for the social experiment. So now he's just trying to frame it as like something different. It's a experiment. It's a social experiment.
To be honest, it's not that different than the headline this Leon Hendricks gave. He said, Millionaire goes homeless to prove anyone can make $1 million. And then this other guy said he went homeless as a social experiment. Those two things are different. They're not that different. So I'm interested in hearing what he has to say about all of that. So without further ado, here's the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, we have...
I'm excited we get the interview here.
Mike Black.
We have Michael
going
Hawk.
viral right now for some interesting reasons. You ran a social experiment a few years ago where you were a millionaire. Is that correct?
Yeah, Millionaire goes homeless to prove that anyone can make $1 million in 12 months.
Anyone can make $1 million.
That's what
my question is, do you still believe it? Because this could have been like a really, really interesting, introspective thing. It's like, yeah, I went to do this thing and I learned that it's fucking tough out there, brother. And I'll be like, okay, you know what? I respect that. I can respect that. So now the question is does he double down like a stupid little baby? Or does he go like, oh yeah, you know what? Like I was so wrong. People have it harder than I thought. Because that would be a beautiful thing.
What's going on? Yeah.
People are upset. Do you understand why?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I completely understand why people are upset. I would be upset, too, if I read that headline.
Well, headline's not really the issue. It's what you tried to do, I guess, right?
What is the real story in your view?
Yeah, so in my view, I mean, this project I did was called the $1 Million Comeback Project. I started it July 10th, 2020. And this was like the height of COVID. I don't know if you remember how different the world was then. It was a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, it was a very unique event that's, I think it's one of the most unique events that we've ever had in a very long time. Definitely interesting. Some people got held back. It added a lot of very interesting parameters that I don't know if anybody will struggle with to that degree, in another generation. But then again, I'm sure they'll come up with their own COVID,
Certainty, people losing their jobs and all this stuff. And, if you've ever seen someone that's like really successful and they tweet and they'll say like, here's what I would do if I started over. If I started over, this is exactly what I would do. Well, this project, instead of like tweeting about that, it was like, let's do this. Let's start over and let's document it and give people a framework.
And there's nothing wrong with saying like, here's what I would do if I started over. That's not the same thing as like, I'm going to go and be homeless and prove to you that like you can start from scratch. Those are two different things. Being like, hey, here's some advice I'd give myself in the past. That's what saying like, here's what I'd do if I had to start over. Like I have that too. Here's some advice I'd give for myself as like a streamer if I can go back in the past. I don't want to. We end up where we are, and it is what it is. But that's different. Like there's no victim in that scenario. When you're just like, here's what I do if I started over. There's no victim there. But if I say like, oh, here's what I do if I was fucking homeless, loser. Like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? It's like you're being a little pointed about this message.
They're actually starting over because I had a lot of friends, people I knew that were starting. They're going through a lot of challenges. And I knew that if they were going through challenges, other people were going through challenges.
Crazy.
And that meant a lot of people might be losing their job and they're going to start their first business they've ever started. Or they're
probably not the easiest to start a business during COVID with all the shit going on, but okay.
Make a big life change. And this is an opportunity to show people like, hey, instead of like tweeting and being like, here's what I would do if I started over. What if I actually start over and I document it? And there was a couple of reasons for this. And, the mindset I had around doing it this way.
Was he trying to sell something?
And mainly what I wanted to do is share with people a framework. Okay, here's what I'm doing during this project, and it's all unfiltered. It's not BS. It's like, this is what's happening every single day. Okay. We filmed every single day. Like it's all captured, and we didn't hide anything from people. So people could see the good and the extremely bad, which that project got extremely bad. So part of it too was just like,
Well, I mean, listen, to what I'm hearing is since you filmed it, I don't know. Listen, that adds a barrier of protection. If you're filming yourself every single day with what's going on, is he filming by himself or with other people? Are there other people filming him? Because he said we filmed it every day, so that implies that there was somebody else as part of the filming, if that makes sense. Which would add a barrier of protection of somebody else filming you and potentially, ward off invaders. We'll say it in the most cringe way possible, of course.
Showing people it's okay to mess up. It's okay to mess up. You got to embrace that because a lot of people, they see people that are maybe successful and they just think like, oh, it's easy for them to do it. They don't screw up at all, and that's completely not true. So,
well, it's not that it's easy. It's that when they screw up, it's not as impactful as like when somebody else screws up. Like, let's be real. Like where I'm at now, like I'm very fortunate with my content, where I didn't used to be. If I go and I have to spend like $2,000 on something, it's not going to be that big of a deal to me. It's going to suck, and I'm going to get over it in like less than a month. I'm like, okay. Like it's not the same as a lot of other people who that's like a huge expense that fucks them royally. There are people who were like, if they have to spend less than $100, that puts them out of whack for a long time on their budget, which is how I used to be too. I'm extraordinarily fortunate. Like I didn't get here because I got here because I'm lucky enough to have a nice voice and be a commonsensical person who's terminally online. Because that's it. I'm not the only thing. I'm not unique. I'm like a fucking truck driver. My channel is basically if a truck driver or a bus driver decided to make a YouTube channel and wanted to deal with all that ridiculous bullshit because it makes you money. You know what I mean? That's it. So it's just like right place, right time. There's nothing particularly skilled about it. I couldn't sit here and communicate to you like, here's what you have to do. You could be rich too. I got fucking lucky, bro. It's insane. All right, I'm very fortunate. All right, so what the fuck are you talking about? Thank you so much for the 15 months. Damn, large gut from Blossoms and a large gut. Hey, Papa, can't stay. Just gonna say it was my birthday. My birthday was last weekend, and I got my birthday wish. I got to goon on my knob for the Gyat anal all day. Okay, incredible, man. That's fantastic. I really, I respect that. I respect you for chasing your dreams.
So, want to kind of normalize it and embrace, like, hey, you're going to screw up. Look how many times I screwed up. It's great. A lot more times than I'd like to admit during that project, but that was the purpose of the project. And with what you're
the point I was making is that like he's in a situation even when he's pretending to be homeless where he can screw up and it's recoverable to do.
Saying, can you understand why people are getting upset? The reason the answer is yes is because it's been twisted with other people's words that
it's been sensationalized. I think it's fair to say there have been two people who sort of took your story, repackaged it, went super viral with it. They both had similar headlines, not exactly the same headline. Both got 8 million views and 35 million views. Now, when I first saw this, the takeaway I had was that the reason I think it went viral is, some people saw it and they go, oh, this is so inspiring. I saw it and I said, I felt like you kind of proved how big a role luck plays in success, which sort of was the opposite of what the headline was kind of saying, which is, millionaire goes homeless to prove, anyone can do it. Anyone can be a millionaire. Ironically, and also unfortunately, you had a string of bad luck towards the end of your challenge.
Is it even bad luck? Or is it just like expected outcomes, right? Bad luck is when something happens that is unexpected and out of the ordinary. It's not bad luck when you're homeless for a bad thing to happen to you. That's just your luck. You're homeless. Being homeless is the bad luck. Now everything else is you just getting royally fucked. So it's not a condition of bad luck. It is a condition of being homeless, that a particular thing, that a bad thing is happening to you. Because being homeless is bad and it's hard and it's something that I never want to have to go through. I never want to be able to truly empathize with a homeless person. I never want to understand that feeling of being actually homeless. That's fucking insane.
Your dad got terminal cancer. You got 2 autoimmune diseases. You had to stop the challenge.
How do you get an autoimmune disease? It has to there has to be like a level of it coming on because they decided to be homeless. Like, that's fucking insane.
For the sake of, prioritizing your health. But I think that raised the question in a lot of people's heads of, a lot of people don't have the luxury of, they can't stop being
out,
like not well off. And then also it kind of, in some people's view, pokes a hole in the idea that, like, oh, anyone can do this. Well, yeah, anyone who doesn't have a dad who has terminal cancer, or anyone who, has normal health.
Well, in most situations, the person with an autoimmune disease that's living on the street would just die. And their dad would just die. Then, like, there wouldn't be a way to come back from it, so...
Health struggles. Does that resonate with you?
Tablets in here?
Oh yeah, 100%. But there's a couple things I want to address there. So I actually think the reason it's going super viral isn't because of that perspective. There's some people that might think that. I think it's going viral because the tweet specifically that went extremely viral. It's a headline that gets people angry. Like, I would get angry if I saw that. It says something like, Millionaire goes homeless as a social experiment. Like, if I read that, I'd be like, what? Like, what?
I don't. That's what you did. I don't understand. That's not clickbait.
Piece of shit. And then the second headline after that says, to prove anyone can make $1 million in just 12 months.
Yeah.
So it was like twisting. Like, I would never in a million years say anyone can make $1 million in 12 months. That wasn't the point of the project. That was not what it was, but it was.
Okay. So what was the project?
Those 2 individuals are very good at making things go viral. And that's what we didn't do at all during the project. If you go look at the project, by the end of the project, I had like 2,300 subs because that wasn't the intention. It wasn't about like, the homelessness and people are super fixated on that because of the way it was twisted.
Well, I mean, you went homeless, so I'm thinking that the homelessness is a pretty big factor. So is he saying here's the only thing that would save him is if he's like, yeah, I wanted to try out being homeless for a month and see if I could make $1 million. It was a personal challenge for myself. Is that what he's saying? That it wasn't like pointed? Is that his whole concept is?
But I completely understand why people feel the way they do. It's the headline's crazy, and it's not what we were intending to do at all.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I just want to make sure I get it because I watched your actual video where you quit, and I was listening to you, and you had a point about gratitude and health, which I resonated with. I'm like, being grateful is huge, health is huge. I thought that was all good, and then I was kind of like my head like cocked to the side when I hear you go like, and that's when I realized like, it's basically you kind of double down on the idea like it's mindset. It's
okay, great.
No matter where you are, you're not a victim. You're not this. And I was thinking, I understand the framing of you have ownership and you have to take ownership. I get you have to. But you were a victim in this story, like literally a victim of something completely out of your control that stopped you from doing what you wanted to do. And I think sometimes there's a survivorship bias with successful people where there are factors that play huge roles in outcomes. Like, for example, you're struggling at the beginning. Somebody luckily offers you to stay with them. Or
yeah, but it's just a mindset. If you want somebody, you have to just mentally manipulate people subtly with magic powers to let you live with them. Oh, it's like a Jedi mind trick. You want to let me stay with you for free. You want to let me stay with you for free. Ooh. Oh, is it still up? What the fuck? That's all it's about, baby. It's mindset, grind set. This is better than what I have.
You are looking for a house hack. And sure, you're contacting people, but basically someone takes a lot of risk basically to help you. They were going to get some upside. It was ultimately to help you. And then you have this. So those both played huge swings. And then you have this other side, which is like the health component, which played huge swings in how
he's saying with a little bit of with a little sauce on it. Huge swings.
You fared in the end. And I just, I thought that maybe the takeaway from you was different than it was for me, and how I felt a lot of people were interpreting it. And I think maybe there's a divide in how people are interpreting it. It leads some people to think this is, a heroic story. Some people think you accidentally proved the opposite of what you set out to prove. What do you think?
He absolutely did that.
Think about
Sure.
that.
Yeah, so I mean, on my end, I don't like being painted as a victim. Like I know, like that was the worst part about all this. I didn't want like sympathy for like the health of my dad because it was crazy because it was the most devastating thing that ever happened to me in my entire life got filmed and documented. And
okay, I mean that is sad. I can understand that. Although if my dad died, I'd laugh. But that's just where I am in life, brother.
Yeah, what happened to my dad was super unfortunate. My autoimmune disease, I've had that since 2018. And I think
You're saying that it got exacerbated by, because you imagine having an autoimmune disease and not having the money to deal with it in some capacity.
Project, I didn't, want to completely admit this, but the stress from my dad, because I was good during
the stress from you being homeless. Let's just be very clear.
Project in the beginning, but then when my dad got diagnosed and I was told he was going to have 12 to 18 months, I think the stress from that just it like,
yeah, stress is a massive. It's pretty massive.
It was bad. Like my hands, my feet, my joints, my hips, like it was just pain.
What did he have? Does he have like fibromyalgia or something?
And then like the chronic fatigue, like it would take me like hours to get out of bed because I was just so tired.
I'm pretty sure this guy has fibromyalgia. That's what it sounds like to me, which apparently is not an autoimmune disease. It's actually like some kind of a it's some kind of like it's something in the brain that makes you think that you're in pain. It's very interesting. It's still like same. It's still equally debilitating. It's just the classification isn't necessarily an autoimmune disease. That's my understanding as time goes on. But like that's not the takeaway from like what's going on with somebody that has that issue.
So when I did quit the project, I know I talked about in the video, a lot of it, looking back, and it's been like 3 or 4 years, so it's hard to also like kind of completely put myself in the same like headspace that I was then. But a lot of it too was like I put so much time, energy, and effort into doing this project, and it just got completely derailed. Completely derailed. I wasn't proud of like what we were putting out, and then my health took this turn.
Oh, I wonder why you weren't proud of what you're putting out. Was it because it wasn't? Is it because it wasn't what you wanted it to be?
And then I wasn't spending time with my dad. And I tried not to say this very often on camera, but like the word terminal cancer. But okay. That's what we were told. Like it was like 12 to 18 months, and I was kind of optimistic about like, hey, I can, maybe there's something we can do. And the more and more people I talked to, because I was spending so much time just talking to stage 4 cancer survivors, and the more I learned, the more I was like, this is really, really bad. And that's life.
Who would have thought? I mean, the word terminal means like you're going to die. So
happens. And what I like about the project is I set out to do something and was super far off from the vanity metric, the financial vanity metric I set for myself. And that's what happens. There's no like, hiding behind something. It's all public. And that's how everything went down. And that I'm like really happy about. People got to see what happens when life gets served. And
being homeless is life being served. It's one of those things where like he's still disconnected. There's no narrative shifting. This is what happens when you get unlucky. Being homeless is unlucky. Nobody's homeless because they got lucky. All right, that's rock bottom. That's like as pretty much as far down as you can get is being fucking homeless. What a miserable thing to happen to somebody. What are you talking about? And a lot of times they become homeless and like their parents don't exactly want to support them. And sometimes it's understandable. Like there are people, like I know of people who become like really bad drug addicts and alcoholics, and their parents try 100 times to get them off of drugs. And they come in their house, they steal from them, they take advantage of them, they lie to him because unfortunately like addicts are liars. It's what happens when you and you want to know what? It's not even that they're necessarily liars all the time. It's one of those things where like they mean what they're saying in the moment, and then they fall prey to their addiction very quickly, and eventually you have to cut them off because they're harming other people in your life, and they hit rock bottom because the only way you can get over an addiction a lot of times is if you hit rock bottom. It's an unfortunate reality of the world, right? So, but like, even though like homelessness is the rock bottom, right? Or a stone cold stunner.
I thought that was
no video. Oh, I scrolled down. Sorry, I scrolled down to look at something.
One of the cooler things about the project. And
my bad.
But it does suck. Like the videos after, month 4. I think it was month 4. My dad had got diagnosed. I wish I just had ended it then, but it was a lot riding on what was going on because I had a bunch of full-time team members, and then
a bunch of full-time team members. Do you hear what he's saying? He had a bunch of full-time team members helping him facilitate this challenge. Do you realize that communicates like the craziest shit in the world, right? Like you having full-time team members. You don't think that sounds a little sussy? Yeah, I had a full-time team members. What are you talking about, man? What do you mean a full-time team? So you had people that were watching you at all times to make sure that you were safe. That's what I'm hearing here. Okay, great.
I really, I didn't want to quit because like my dad, he was like, you can't quit. Like, wow. And I didn't want to put that on him and be like, you know what, I'm gonna end this, and then he feels super bad about that. So yeah, okay. That's I don't know if I ranted a little bit there. I apologize if I did, but that's pretty much kind of from my perspective. I hope that answers your question.
No, I appreciate your perspective.
Not really.
Because ultimately what we see online is sort of a twice removed meme, which is you became a meme in this guy Leon's video. You got 8 million views with, it's sort of like summarized your life and this little clickbait moment. And then Eddie Chang basically plagiarized Leon, kind of cranked up the explosiveness of the headline, and then he got 34 million views. And hearing you talk about it, I sense a little bit more self-reflection, a little bit more awareness of what's going on. And, you know, I definitely think you ended up making a great case study for empathy for what people have going on. You know, ultimately, you kind of have this external thing, which is this project. But ultimately, what's going on in your life has way more impact than, you know, like, oh, we have to, you know, grind. We have to do this. It's everything's within your control. I think actually health is one of those instances where you don't have everything within your control. You can say all you want, like, oh, I'm going to research it.
You could definitely have some of your health in control. Like, obviously, you know, I'm fat. And then it gets into a whole conversation about like other types of addictions, potentially food addiction and stuff like that. But like, you have a level of control, but you drastically lose that control when you live on the streets, specifically when you have to eat something. Like, even if you don't live on the street, it can be tough if you just don't have the money and you have to eat like dookie diarrhea just to make ends meet.
I'm going to solve it. So many problems are like, I'm just going to think my way through it. You can't think your way through some of those challenges. Now, I want to talk to you about the dollar amount, because this is also a thing that I think was pretty misleading in some of these headlines. They say, oh, he made $65,000, but that was revenue. How much did you actually make profit? I never saw that number.
I thought he made $100,000 profit. Maybe I'm wrong about my interpretation of something.
Sure. So,
or I thought it was like $60,000 profit, $1,000, $100,000 revenue.
This is
at least the last month. He made like $10,000. Half of that was profit, right? So
hard to remember, to be totally honest. Did you go through the videos? Like, did we put that in any of the videos? Like the revenue to profits? I thought we were doing that with like the money tracker.
The only thing I saw was there were 3 metrics in the last video. I saw some of them, but I didn't watch the ones like leading right up to the end. All I saw was 64,000, and then you said last month we made 10,000, profited 5,000. So if I'm doing the 50% profit, but I don't know if that was your profit margin throughout. 50% profit margin would be about 32K, something like that.
So it's really hard to tell how profitable it was. And, you know, people do get confused with that stuff. They see 64,000. That's like, okay, that's revenue. That's not profit. If I had to guess, maybe you're right. Maybe like 50% of that is profit, maybe less.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I actually think it's a case study in how hard starting over is. I mean, the one thing I think about.
It really isn't. It's not. Well, I mean, I guess it is, because this guy started over with many advantages that other people that are homeless don't have, significant advantages, and he still failed emphatically, and he couldn't even do the year. Like, this is the thing. Like, if you're somebody that has like totally like generally like normal mental health, and you end up going onto the street, like, you're going to develop a mental health problem. You're going to develop PTSD. All right, you're not going to be able to sleep particularly easy at night because you have no stable living conditions. You're going to get beat the fuck up. It's going to beat the shit out of you. This guy, I don't think he had all the stressors. It sounded like he had an entire team helping like facilitate this entire social experiment, which is what we're going to call, because that's what it is. And he was able to have like fewer mental health issues associated with it because of that. Like, this guy wasn't going through like a very normal or a particularly like real experience.
The $10 million studio normally, right now I'm in the void, but you know, a lot of production value for me now.
And just to be clear, it sounds like he still had mental struggles with it, but never going to be the same as somebody in like a normal circumstance.
Is cheap, because I have all these nice cameras. I've got a bunch of lights. Sometimes I've even said like, oh, I think I could start over and start a YouTube channel.
That's another thing too. If people are following him around with like a camera and shit, they're going to be more likely to trust him to let him into their house. They're like, oh, this guy's just doing an experiment. Like, okay. Like, that's how he probably got people to be nice to him.
And
who's to say that they didn't go like, oh, maybe I'll help this guy out. Maybe he'll help me in like the back end in some other capacity, like later in life. Oh yeah, I helped the millionaire do his social experiment. Maybe he'll give me some money or something on the back end. We have no idea.
He thinks, yeah, I could, because I have some skills, etc. But also, a lot of what I rely on is all these like, I have infrastructure in my life to make my life easier. Yeah, and when you completely abandon that, it's way harder than you think to just be like, I'm just going to crank it right back up. I'm
going to crank it.
Have no problems. And then you compound, health issues, things like that. I think it's interesting. Watching your story go viral was interesting, because it was like a cultural moment where I think a lot of people are, having a tough time, and they feel like it's basically saying like, oh, you're just not trying hard enough. That's sort of how it feels to just read a headline like that. But then I think
it sounds even worse than that. I think it's like you're not trying hard enough and you suck if you're not doing this. And like, just kind of like also with the whole homeless thing, it's like taking a lot of that out of context and almost like shitting on like that group of people. It's like It's like, what is going on?
That's kind of what you did. I mean, to be fair, he seems like a nice guy. He probably just didn't realize how disconnected he was. I mean, like, and that's pretty easy when you're disconnected, right? Like, like you're very disconnected. You're not going to realize how disconnected you are. That's what disconnected is. So he doesn't seem like a bad guy, but he definitely a silly goose, we'll say.
Well, do you have any final recollections on anything you'd like to sort of like square the circle on the project? Now that you're looking back multiple years later, you've had all this happen to you. Do you have any final thoughts on the project before we wrap up?
Yeah, so the only thing about all this that irks me the most, and look, I get the hate comments. People are going to leave hate comments either way, and that's fine. I like the hate comments, to be honest, but
why? Nobody likes hate comments. Let's just be absolutely real. They cope about them. They get so many that they pretend that they like them. That's what really happens.
The one thing that bothers me is, like, I don't think people realize, like, the sacrifice that went into doing this project. I spent an unbelievable amount of my own money with no monetization plan. The only thing
Wow, who would have thought? The Millionaire spent a bunch of money. Holy fuck, guys, he's over.
we made was a little bit of ad revenue, like peanuts compared to the amount of money I spent.
Yeah, and any normal person going through this experiment would have been fucking bankrupt. Just to be clear. Dude, you can make a bad decision. You made a bad decision, you recovered from it, so it wasn't really that bad.
And I put out a free course.
For like really poor people, you just went to McDonald's for the day because you were so tired that you couldn't make your own food and it fucked up your budget. Like, that's what you did. That's the equivalent of what you did.
No intention of upselling people. But like, see this painted in such a negative light, and people are like, oh, he's doing this because he wants to, I don't know, be a guru or make money from people and all this stuff. That's completely not true. And that's
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if he was selling something, but he might have been. But okay.
Not what the project was. It was like, just want to help, want to give you a framework, and don't want to charge you $1 for it. So I don't know what my upside here is, other than
you had the money to try to prove a point. It's fucking crazy.
I feel good when people
pull this thing,
are able to achieve something pretty cool from what I've helped them with during the project or off camera. So that's the only thing that really irks me, but also, like, got a lot of hate comments.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, the one thing I'll say is the main hate comment that, like, I agreed with was he just proved what he didn't set out to prove. That was the most interesting part to me. Was that side of it. But
which is great, though. I love that. Like, that's so true. I've made $65,000, and it's like all this is on camera for you to watch. Like, that's great.
Great. Well, thanks for taking.
That was like the first and only introspective moment I heard him have. What the fuck? What is this?
Time, man. I just wanted to ask you about it and
it's not that good.
See your thoughts. I think it's interesting to hear it straight from the source instead of on Twitter.
All right, yeah. I mean, that was certainly an interesting video. That's all I'm gonna say. But the guy's definitely disconnected.